and there were some technical glitches that we were going through. One of the problems with technology is that as doctors, we don't really understand the technology that well. This has become a more deadly combination for all of us.
COVID is training us rather.
So we will talk something which is not COVID today, and I welcome all of you to the third webinar on newborn screening, which is for obstetricians. Typically, our webinars are 60 minutes, and we try to cover just few topics at a time, and don't want everybody to be burdened with the amount of information overload. From Jodhpur, Rajasthan. She's an obstetrician and fetal medicine specialist. Dr. Mukesh Nagar is a neonatologist from Vadodara, Gujarat. Dr. Alok Sharma is an obstetric gynecologist from Mandi, Himachal Pradesh. And Dr. Jain is a neonatologist from Bhopal, MP. I've been very fortunate to know most of them even earlier, and I had a very close relationship with them. And let me introduce each of them. Hospital Limited, Jodhpur and Jaipur. She is the ex-executive member of ISPAT, founder chapter secretary of ISAR, Rajasthan, and the founder secretary of IMS Jodhpur. She is the vice president of FOGSI Jodhpur. She has got a diploma in pelvic surgery from Kehl University, Germany. Dr. Nagar is an NICU in charge and head of the Children's Hospital, Vadodara. He is the executive committee member of AOP Vadodara and the executive member of OBGY of Civil Hospital, Sundarnagar, Mandi, Himachal Pradesh. He is the founder secretary of IMS, Indian Menopausal Society, and Indian Fertility Society, Shimla chapter. He is the North Zone coordinator for Hello Tomorrow CMEs, advisor to Sexual Medicine Committee of FOGSI. He is a member of Public Awareness and Adolescent Health Committee of FOGSI. Dr. Mahendra Jain is an associate professor in the Department of Neonatology, AIIMS Bhopal. He has been awarded by the National Neonatal Forum for successful and he has published several documents and articles in journals. And I am your host and moderator, Dr. Saurabh Dani. I am an obstetrician from Mumbai. I am the coordinator of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai Newborn Screening Program. I am the Vice President of Indian Society for Prenatal Diagnosis of Therapy and the past President of Association of Fellow Gynecologists, Mumbai. So with this brief introduction of all, we will go with the program flow. So webinar series that is newborn screening for obstetricians. And in the first two series and in the first two parts, what we really discuss is the awareness part, with how important is awareness. And I think it was very clear from the first two webinars that awareness is very important, remains a very crucial aspect of newborn screening. And it is a responsibility of obstetricians primarily to see that the awareness is created, and then the secondary responsibility is of the neonatal. Guiding the obstetrician into what and how should newborn screening be done, rather than they themselves getting actively involved in it, because unless and until the baby turns out to be positive in the screening program. So that is a small recap, a brief recap of what we did in the first two episodes. The full discussions can be watched on YouTube. All you need to go to is this website hnw.in/a/NBS001 and 002 for the first two parts. Program, what we do today is which questions which we have received, we try to get some answers for them so that the viewers who have asked questions not go empty-handed and they get answers. So one of the questions that we received was why do gynacs not advise newborn screening? So Dr. Nagar, you have been closely working with obstetricians, and if you could just answer and tell me that what is your perception and what do you think is the reason why gynacs.
Please, are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
absolutely, loud and clear.
Yes, it's clear.
Are you able to hear?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, fine, great. So, you are absolutely right. We are working with the obstetricians daily coming in with these gynacs. We are dealing with all those newborn babies and all that, but somehow gynacs, they don't see the repercussions of what exactly goes wrong with the baby. Somehow the baby means absolutely healthy, normal newborn baby, cried immediately after birth, shifted to mother side. Then what is the need means of doing this newborn screening program? But somehow in our daily clinical practice, we try to counsel gynecologists regarding that. There is a certain need to screen for this universal newborn screening program for those newborn babies.
Okay.
Gynecologists means their subject, so they leave us on us. Okay, it is not our part now. The baby has been delivered now. It is up to you. What exactly now you want to do with? So probably
Right.
after being means discussing with the gynaecologists, most of the time they do recommend, yes, we should go for this universal newborn screening programs.
Yeah.
I think I also think not everyone, but yes, because we are more worried towards mother once the baby is delivered. Then we think, okay, now this is the part. But now, after seeing all these things, after having associated with Dr. Dani, and you very correctly said that we are not having any repercussions, like what will be the how the baby suddenly died, what happened to it. So after that, if that history comes to us, yes, in the history somewhere in the past it happened. So that could be one of the reasons that we should start getting into the NBS of all these repercussions, and awareness is not only for general public but for the gynecologists also.
Dr. Dani, may I speak?
Absolutely, please. You're here to speak.
Yeah, you have to speak.
Actually, the question is not right.
The question is
Gynecologists are the one who handle gynec problems. We are obstetricians who are handling babies.
Yeah.
Fine.
I absolutely thought of that, but the question was gynec. I did not want to change the question. So
So,
that is very valid. Yes, we are, and to obstetricians, we should call pregnancy caregivers because it could be anybody. It
Yeah.
could be guys, it could be anybody. So any pregnancy caregiver, whatever they are, they need to see that awareness is created in the antenatal period. And as rightly said, that because we don't see the repercussions, that is why we sometimes don't realize what we missed out. Really.
no, you see, after some time, we obstetricians will be called only counselors. We need to counsel about Down syndrome screening. We need to counsel hereditary diseases. We need to counsel about that GDM because we need to save 2 generations. Then in the last trimester, we need to counsel about postpartum. Now we need to counsel about the newborn screening. So,
Yes.
so as a,
So, but Dr. Makwana, in the first 2 episodes, what we discussed was that antenatally counseling is very important
very
because
important.
because what happens also, they say that when we talk to them for the first time and then they're unaware of what is newborn screening, they always feel that why is being asked newborn screening. But in cases where the parents have already been talked about newborn screening in the antenatal period, they are more receptive to getting newborn screening done when the
I think
neonatologist approach them. Yes, Dr.
the
Mukesh.
next
Yes,
so
that
this
we had
next
PT
question,
meeting.
ma'am. Sir have put up this next question: how to counsel the parents? So counseling, ideally, it should begin visits.
Agree.
We do we should have some parent education training programs with us, and we should
Yeah,
try to have
we
a good
plan.
counselor who
no.
yeah.
The
We
question
So
plan.
during antenatal visits, when the parents they are coming for antenatal visits, we should have some parent education training program, and a good counselor should be a part of that team who provides some psychosocial support to the parents in this era. Actually, it is requirement, as you rightly said. And these people, when the expecting parents, okay, what exactly this newborn screening is. Newborn screening, as of it is not a simple test exactly. and we should try to provide some leaflets, some material regarding this newborn screening. What exactly we want to say?
No,
Try to
that is okay. How to
So
yeah.
define new
what we
how
do
to
in our
define
clinical
newborn
practice,
screening? Okay, okay, that
what
is
we do
fine.
in our clinical practice, we organize 3 counseling sessions and then lactation counseling. And along with this, we used to address their high risk factors also. Years back, when Dr. Saurabh Dani sensitized us for newborn screening, we are doing that in our institution. And now we are routinely doing the 4 tests, minimal screening panel is there. And those who don't go for it, we used to take their consent that we are not going for it. Then the patient understands that this is important. So now we are not counseling about the the importance of this screening test. And if there is history of past mishap like
Yeah, that I was.
CP or
Yeah.
anything else, then we used to order counsel them for extended in
Extended
screening for
newborn
the
program.
IF. Yeah,
So
and
so
along with that, we used to counsel that ROP screening for those who admitted in NICU, and then hearing at with the rule of 136 at 1 month, then 3 months, and that ROP screening along with that, and then for minimal 4 panel.
Yeah. So, Dr.
We are doing that.
Makwana, now that you have already opened the can of worms and you are talking that you already do this. So,
Yeah.
how do you really counsel the parents? See, the question which was asked to us was that how do you counsel? Yes, I understood Dr. Nagar saying that yes, we give leaflets and we do this. But what is the real counseling that really happens between the patient and the doctor, or between a counselor and a patient? Newborn screening.
So I would like to add in that.
Yeah, Alok, you can say, and then Dr. Makwana can continue.
Like I am in a government setup, and being in a government setup, you are having again 200 to 300 daily patients, and you have to deal with. Now you have to Dr. Saurabh Dani is also asking that this screening is a newborn screening has also to be counseled. Now, how to counsel? We are looking. We can only do that, or we should do after this. If there is any history in the family, if there is any like a sudden death of any infant in the family, then starts the counseling. Then they are interested also. They are worried also for the next pregnancy in the preconception period only. But antenatal period is one thing. But yes, preconception period you can go for counseling if there is any mishap, as if I think sitting in the government setup.
Hmm. So, Dr. Alok, before Dr. Makwana takes in, I'll games. So, what do you think if the counseling has to happen? If suppose you were starting a newborn screening program tomorrow in your setup, like AIMS, how do you think the counseling should really be going ahead?
So what I think, I also did work in private setup, and now I'm working in government setup. First thing that there is should be one session in consultation antenatally with the neonatologist or attending pediatrician. Not only newborn screening, even the pupil's mothers is more worried about vaccination, not the breastfeeding. So we have to have one proper session of counseling that includes the newborn screening and what is exactly their cost, affordability, vaccinations, and of course breastfeeding. This is the one of important thing, because what happened that after delivery, that the neonatologist is going to face the parents. The parents are decision easily, and we can also once again we can also counsel the parents. Second, Dr. Nagar already told that we have to provide some education material, and this is the important thing, so that the parents will be aware, they can read it, because in a one counseling session it's very difficult to understand what is the exactly thing. Third important thing is that in a counseling we can share what we face exactly in day to MSUD 1 month before I have seen, and baby was neurologically abnormal. MRI becomes abnormal. So we need to do newborn screening. So parents will get easily if we provide some example to them. Second important thing in our setup, there is no role of vaccinations. Government have lot of involvement, but there is no role of vaccination, especially cost effectiveness by the government. This is also one of important issue, and that was also discussed in Bangalore. There was one CME in rare disease, and what exactly come out that the exactly cost of newborn screening exactly is not very high, and if a mass number we can produce a newborn screening, that its cost will be very low. So cost one is the issue, counseling is the second issue, and second for parents we have to do repeatedly 1 or 2 counseling antenatally and
Sure. So, yes, counseling is very important and it should be done. There are various means and ways you should do it. As rightly said, it's not only about newborn screening counseling, but it has to be clubbed with all other things like lactation, then breastfeeding, then maybe postnatal care and vaccinations and everything. Like, you can club everything together and just in one go, you can talk about various things which a parent is going to face as soon as the baby is going to be born. Another point about newborn screening is also telling them how the newborn, because there is a lot of apprehension which is there. Okay, how are you going to collect the blood? This is not a cord blood or something. It is going to be collected by doing a heel prick. So if you just show them that how easy it is doing a heel prick, it is absolutely non-painful. Maybe you can relate it to something like which they know, like vaccinations. During the course of childhood, a parent is probably going to give around 10 to 15 vaccines throughout the course of 10 years of the life. On the other hand, this is just one small prick which is going to be totally harmless in that way. So this is one of the videos that we have done. We have created for the municipal corporation collection. So you can have this look and you can share this video also in case if you want to do. Another question is that what is the target population for screening? So whom should you screen? Can you decide that okay, this baby or this feet or this neonate I'm not going to screen, or this neonate I'm going to screen?
Right.
Okay, so I think it was a one-word answer, universal.
No, universal.
So yes, I just we can just expand on that for the participants to know that what we mean by universal is that you cannot pick and choose whom you want to screen, you don't want to screen. If you decide that you want to start newborn screening, it has to be implemented as a program wherein every baby who is born in your setup has to undergo a universal screening, unless and until the parents refuse to go for the test. So my child, that is the only time when you say, okay, you may not do it. And the best thing is that we do in our setup is to take an opt-out consent, saying that I don't want to do it and I'm opting out of it. So legally also, we are safe.
Yes, yes.
Anybody wants to add anything?
No, that is the final and the nail in the.
Okay. So these were a few questions which we had received after the last webinar. And thrones, but game of numbers. It's all about, we all go on discussing what are the different numbers which are, or number of tests which are available with us and what should be done and what should not be done. And it becomes too complicated sometimes for an obstetrician who is not very well versed with newborn screening and would get confused with all these different numbers which would be thrown across to you. Okay, you should do 2 tests, you should do 5, you should do 27, 88, 99, 18, it could be any number, which is being thrown across to you. And there is a tendency of us thinking, that higher the number is always better. But my question to the panelists here is that, is there certain protocol by which you decide what is the right number? Or rather, what number of disorders we should be included or not included?
Like
I think
it
it should be 7.
has been in the history.
Yeah.
Since the history has been
Okay.
given.
In my screen, I can see Alok at the top. So let us start from top. talking or counseling as obstetricians. So then, if they are incorrect, then I think Dr. Nagar and Dr. Jain can step in.
Like it is like we are going we can go like that ki what are the disorders which are common around your area, but again we are going, or we can classify the disorders like these are common, these are like ethnic or like that. So we can go for like amino acid disorders or like endocrinal disorders, including hypothyroidism or like that. Or if we can go for in amino acids, we can go for phenylketonuria, or we can go for like that is causing like mental retardation. So again, any fatty acid oxidation disorders, you can go for that. And if like the in endocrinopathies, I told like you can go for congenital hypothyroidism or congenital adrenal hyperplasias. Go for in acidemias, we have got several acidemias, but again all the disorders, they are numerous disorders which are included as into newborn screening. Again, we have to look like what are the disorders which, or any studies we have got around us, that these are the disorders which we have seen in past or nearby, so we can go like that.
Okay, Dr. Makwana, I heard disorders that you do.
The counseling for NBS starts from the counseling of double marker test screening. When the parents ask whether our baby will be normal or not. So I used to tell that these are the screening tests which is done at the first trimester screening along with sonography, then anomaly scan, then goes with the growth scan, and then at birth there are some correctable diseases which can be diagnosed at birth irrespective there is history of consanguineous marriage. Then I used to opt for seven wala
Seven disorders. Okay.
Otherwise, as you said years back, that start with only one, that is congenital hypothyroidism. And then I told you that I got 2 patients in 750. Then you said, no, incidence is high. It should be 1 in 1,000. What do I do if I got 2 patients out of 750? Then we start continuing. Now the number is screening for congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, because here we can intervene, then galactosemia and G6P deficiency. And if one of the parent or either they are carrier of thalassemia or they're having consanguineous marriage, then we used to order for 7 panel, which includes hemoglobinopathies or sickle cell anemia also. And if there is history of unexplained death or sudden deterioration in the neonatal period, then we used to advise for advanced screening. And this thing, and then that counseling he does, because we sensitize the patient about the screening program, and then now they can explain very well, now you need this and what will be the outcome of the screening program, how we are going to treat or whatever. So that part is done by neonatologists.
Yeah, so would like to add on a little bit in this. Madam, this regarding this newborn screening program, we used to begin with a very simple thing. Also, so begin with that. Thereafter, we think over, is there any hearing loss? So very simple OAE test, it is available. So we can screen for that. Now for that blood test to screen 3, 7, 30, 60 conditions, we don't know exactly. So for that purpose, NNF, National Neonatology Forum, has created 3 groups. Group A, Group B and Group C. In Group A, they have let down the recommendations. Okay, you go for screening of all the said congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia and G6PD, which are very common. So Group A, these are NNF recommendations actually. So Group A, all those newborn babies for these 3 conditions. In Group B, they have considered for high risk. Which are the high risk one? The high risk babies are the one who are sick, who are ill, who are sick, critical, who previous sibling with a history of sudden infant death syndromes.
Yeah.
seizures, for any unexplained reasons of the missed or recurrent abortions. So for that high risk group, they have created an expanded newborn screening program, which screens for another 30-60 conditions, right? And the group C, they have created group C for resource rich settings. The centers which are available in urban areas where we can do TMS, that tandem mass spectroscopy. So this is how means they have tried to balance the thing. So for that reason, they have let down certain recommendations, and they are very easy. Means we can decide. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to go for 3 conditions, to go for 7 conditions. Will be a little bit difficult for us. So if the baby absolutely means the for these 3 conditions, all the newborn babies, NNF says for all those 3 conditions, all newborn babies they should be screened for that. For high risk, you can go for that, and for if you are sitting in a very resource settings, you can go for that TMS and all that.
So Dr.
This is
Makhona
how-
is from. Yeah, Dr. Jain. So what is the situation in Bhopal?
So actually, I just shifted here, Bhopal, 2 months back. Basically, I was also in Rajasthan, Jaipur. So, like, what I feel that we should. This is a preventive medicine, and we should like maximum things that can be screened. We should do it, and we should educate parents about what is the importance of screening. One baby or in a family, first baby is healthy. It's not like that now going to 3 babies and 4 that the things are there. 1 or 2 siblings are here, and even a one single loss in one family, it's a big loss for family, and it's very important thing, especially parents. Now in a city, most of the parents are working, and women also working, and that it's like a part of counseling. Years back, when there is a free delivery, home delivery was there, okay, and nobody know the importance of this thing. Now that everybody wants to do institutional delivery, though there is a, it's like it was very important. And here also we should create things that the parents that feel newborn screening is very important, and whatever the maximum things we should be screened about this newborns. Now the
Yes,
parents increase, and somehow we feel these things are very costly. Now that food is also available for special milk, all these things are preparation available in India. So if possible that if now if we see that what and the trends of the delivery years back when I was doing my DM, that the delivery charge at 10,000, it was very high. Now that the parents 30,000, 60, even some 1 lakh. Here I will again say that the government should start or initiate some their own screening program that is not available in even a single disease or 2 diseases in the government setup. Whatever we are doing with the private setup, now that the government, what I feel here, I join in AIMS, that the biotechnical this department, Ministry of Health, now they are going to do screening and they are now searching for incidents. And currently they are doing for yes, this is the for the 7 diseases, and then subsequently in second phase they will include also this and a TMS also. So what I feel that if possible we need to educate now parents paying capacity increase, and as much as possible that we should also include TMS. It's like though it's NNF say it's like this is the stage 1, 2, 3, but what I feel this we should do screening out.
Okay. So just for all the viewers to know that basically all these disorders which NNF is talking about or everything is based on certain, which is called as the RUSP guidelines. That is RUSP, that is Recommended Universal Screening Panel, and in which there is a data or statistics which has been and detailed analysis on which disorders can be treated and which cannot be treated, and only those which treated and fall as under the guidelines are included in the newborn screening, they will definitely increase tomorrow and the day after and year by year. So currently, the recommended universal screening panel includes CH, congenital hypothyroidism, CAH, G6PD, galactosemia, biotinidase, cystic fibrosis, fatty acid oxidation disorders, amino acid, organic acid disorders, amino acid disorders, HB variants, SCID, LSD. So these are all the disorders which are done using a blood test. Then disability that is done by an OE, and the pulse oximeter is used to do the CCHD. So these are the group of disorders which are included in the RUS guidelines. And when you are doing a newborn screening test, it should be based on the Wilson and Jagner's criteria. And the link here I have given, that is http://hnw.in/a/RUS. You just go to this link and you'll be able to read the recommended universal screening panel and the disorders which should be in your setup, maybe government or private or corporate, doesn't matter. But it should be just part of the RUS guidelines. So if somebody is offering you more than the RUS guidelines, then it is ethically incorrect to even screen for the disorder, because you are doing a screening test, you are not doing a diagnostic test. You are checking the asymptomatic babies, you are not checking symptomatic babies. So another question moving ahead, if someone were to start a newborn screening in their hospital, what should they do? So Dr. Makwan practice in OBGY, and she's going to be your competition. And but she looks up onto you as a very senior, educated obstetrician who is well versed in your area. And she says that, what should I be screening for? You know, I understand you are doing this. And let me take out one thing which Dr. Jain just pointed out, is that let's take money or the cost of the test out of the equation. Let us not even bother about it. There are so many problems that can happen if you start thinking about that. And in the last no, let us not talk about the cost implications which are there, because what you think is costly may not be costly for a parent, and they can easily afford it. So let's not even think about what is the cost. Yes, a provider can definitely. So if the government wants to start it, let the government think about it. But you as a doctor, you are liable to your patient. And it is your duty to give the correct information to your patient, be it private sector or the government sector. You cannot be saying that, no, because I thought that the person cannot afford, I did not talk about it. You know, that is never an acceptable excuse. Taking the cost factor out, so let's not discuss about the cost part of it.
Yeah.
But if you were to start a screening, what should I screen for? You would screen for, as Dr. Mukesh said, about NNF guidelines of 3 disorders, or as what you are practicing as 4 disorders, or 7 disorders, or something more. So if you, so we will take a view from everybody, what is there, and then we will see if we can come to some common guidelines.
It's not about money also, because I know people who are refusing for double marker screening tests also, and I came across patients who previously had Down syndrome, now coming directly for amniocentesis for diagnostic tests only. So patients need to be aware what is important. And
there comes
in
the
the
history
same
also.
thing, new doctors, they should also, everybody should understand that these are the minimal things one need to go for this. Low risk babies should be screened for the some things clinically as well as biochemically also. And then if by history it is indicated, then they should go according to protocol only, because baby will not say that I delivered with new obstetrician or old obstetrician. If the baby is having problem, then problem is there. And then what new person will say to me, you have told me small little, I should explain them fully.
You are the pediatrician for Dr. Makwana, and she says that I want to start newborn screening. What is the panel you will tell her to start with?
Okay, sir. So, ma'am, as I have told, NNF has given a very clear-cut guidelines. There is, as sir, absolutely right. Cost is not at all, and the thing which should we should not be biased according to that cost factor and should be kept out of that. So if you are starting, if you want to with the universal newborn screening program, in which you can screen all the healthy newborn babies for specially for all those three conditions. If you are encountering with some high risk group, then you can go for those expanded newborn screening program.
So it is
And if
according to the NNF guidelines.
yeah,
As you
so
told
NNF has
also.
divided it. So NNF has divided in these three groups, and they are very
Yeah,
clearly they have mentioned that group A, group B, and group C. Newborn babies, healthy normal newborn babies, we shifted to the mother side. They should be screened for three conditions. They are very clear: congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and GCSPD, which are very common. And the group B for the high risk newborn babies with all those high risk factors, they should be screened for, as sir told, all those urea cycle defects, aminoacidopaths, fatty acid oxidation defects, the rest of the other means genetic or metabolic. And the group C, as they had showed, the complete panel for all those newborn babies.
Realize that right now India doesn't have any other guidelines except for NNF guidelines. So
Right.
it is always better to follow a certain set of guidelines and do that. See, doing more is not going to be harmful. But if you do something less than that, yes, then that can have repercussions which you may not be able to justify. So tomorrow, if you decide that no, I just want to do two disorders for some reason, it is very important you will have to justify that why you not do the third disorder. Because there are guidelines which have been existing from several years. If I'm not mistaken, I think another thing which I will probably say is that when you don't have a local public health program in newborn screening, then you should probably be following the NNF guidelines. But if you have a local public health program which is going on, then it is better to be on that side of it. For example, like in Mumbai, we have a newborn screening program wherein we screen for three disorders along with sickle cell. So though the NNF is talking about three disorders, but here in Mumbai it is being done as 3 plus 1, 4. Then it would be prudent for an obstetrician practicing in Mumbai to probably do 4 disorders rather than doing just 3 disorders and follow the NNF guidelines.
So I think to add on is like as Mumbai is doing, so we have to counsel our political leaders also, the policy makers of our state, that these are the guidelines, these are the diseases which are very harmful to the neonate or in further in the neonate's life. So we have these guidelines as a universal procedure for the this thing newborn screening.
Absolutely, Dr. Alok, you are absolutely on the point. See, the first awareness happens with the head of departments of government medical colleges in the respective states, and they start this recommendation sending to the state department saying that this is something which needs to be implemented. And once they write it that this requires, then the process or the whole wheel of bureaucracy starts churning. So it
NNF
is
on screening program, it should be introduced in a phased manner in the different parts of the our country. So
Correct.
probably there some policy very soon, probably mid 2010 they laid down these guidelines, and probably very soon we'll be having a policy which will guide us to this about this how this program should be introduced in a phased manner in the different parts of the country.
Yes. Dr. Nagar, the advantage or disadvantage of India is that India is a federal country. So every state
Right.
and so each state has the authority to decide what they want to do in health as far as concerned. And the central has a very minimal role in framing health policies for the whole of India. So the state departments and the state bureaucracy and the state politicians have a strong hold on deciding what happens in that particular state. So I think that is where we will have to work. And the second tier is like municipal corporation, because they also have equal autonomy in deciding what to do.
Again, we have the local leaders to tell them the importance of newborn screening and these diseases, enlisted diseases by NNF, that these should be included in a phased manner from our head to the Secretary Health or to the Health Minister of the state regarding, and to create budget to make that budget available to the government, so that this NBS should be included into the this thing. NBS universal screening should be included to the
Correct. So before we end today's session, so why is it so important to screen for thyroid? You know, both NNF is talking about three disorders: CH, and G6PD. But one of the most outstanding disorders, rather most of most countries where newborn screening starts as a policy, always starts with CH first, and then there are more disorders which are added. So why is congenital hypothyroidism so important?
Because treatment is less expensive, rather that the suffering is far from imagining. So simple intervention of giving levothyroxine does wonders. So diagnosing it early is of prudent importance.
So
Yes.
congenital hypothyroidism is one of the common congenital disorders, as Madam rightly said. It is very easy to treat. The treatment part, it is very cheap, and if early it is started in early days of life, then the results they are excellent. These children who have a congenital hypothyroidism, if they are being diagnosed in the early days and we start treatment early, then they have a normal neurodevelopmental outcomes. They don't have any major problems with these babies, and probably the overall growth and development of these kids, they are excellent. That what we have seen, and as of you said, whichever the country when they start their hypothyroidism, as of if we go through the statistical data, the overall incidence of this congenital hypothyroidism in Western countries, it is around 1 in 3,000 to 4,000. But in the certain parts of our certain states in our country, the incidence it is around 1 in 900 live births also. So this is a common, easily treatable, and we can prevent this grossly intellectual disabilities or abnormal started in the early days of life.
So,
So
for
this is
our
the
yeah, absolutely right, Dr. Agar. Okay, the incidence is pretty high, and it would the repercussions are too grave for us to not detect it or screen it. You know, and if you're looking from an obstetrician's point of view, the incidence is very similar to what other tests we normally do in our routine practice. Like Down syndrome, the incidence is 1 in 820. VDRL test which we do, the incidence is 1 in 1000. Beta thalassemia screening we do is 1 in 800. PDRA test is the same as doing the cost for congenital hypothyroidism. The cost of beta thalassemia is probably higher than the cost of screening for CAH. And Down syndrome, the cost is 10 times higher than doing just CAH, you know. So if you look at, if we really believe in doing all these things, there is no reason that we should not be doing or talking about CAH. And as just said, you know, the incidence world internationally and India, it's way apart, you know. India, we see it's much more commoner than what we see recommendations that they say that newborn screening should be included in every country where there's an infant mortality rate which is less than 50. And the average of India is 34 per 1,000 live births, which is definitely less than the 50 figure. And that is why we are at this juncture of time wherein we need to start genetic-based testing, which is newborn screening. So basically, we're talking about non-communicable disorders, the move from communicable to non-communicable disorders. I mean, what really happens to them? So if a baby is born with CH and we do not diagnose it or we do not treat it, what is the real problem that happens?
Neurodevelopmental delays are the most common part.
Failure to thrive.
Neurodevelopmental delays leading to intellectual disabilities, as written on your slides, and very abnormal growth.
Yeah. So, Dr. Dr. Nagar and Dr. Jain, have you personally ever seen a baby of C in your practice in all these years?
Yes, sir. We have recently seen one of my colleague, Dr. Harish Barrier, recently he had seen a kid in his routine OPD, and then he called up me. So just let us go. This is a clear-cut case of hypothyroidism, and now the kid is having all those signs symptoms. Delay. There is a doesn't look happy, dull, is low.
How old was that? How old was the baby?
Delayed. All the
Okay.
milestones they were delayed. Wide open frontal, all those classical features of hypothyroidism they were there. So and thereafter the patient belongs to somehow some tribal or rural area, but this is how the uh, this kid had suffered. If it could have been diagnosed early, if it very simple and a very cheap those medicines could have been started timely, then probably this could have not been happened with this kid. So
Okay.
means
Mhm. Yeah.
this is
So
the
Dr. Jain at birth itself and managed properly.
Yeah, there was one thing that actually I work in mostly in a medical college. So we are doing this congenital hypothyroidism routinely, and one that the report was pending and that we was discharged, and then somehow come in about 1 month of age, and that we feel that the report was not there. It was 100. So this is the thing, and I was worried that that timely intervention, then outcome after 6 months or 1 year, that we was okay, that will be neurologically normal. One more thing that madam told, failure to thrive. Yeah, agree. These may be in initial days as having mostly problem of feeding difficulty, and these will be sleepy. So this is the things that what I seen in this congenital hypothyroidism. That they will go in a failure to thrive. So neurodevelopmental outcome impairment, it's one of the things, but that the other thing that failure to thrive is also it's a common things which earlier in congenital hypothyroidism.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So I will scene is we did this we in one of the hospitals we were doing this routine newborn screening program for basic. Found that suddenly one baby had, as rightly said, the TSH levels were very high. Uh, the baby, the parents were immediately informed, and after informing them, we told them to immediately get a confirmatory test done. The confirmatory test was done, and it showed that this baby was of congenital hypothyroidism, and there was no in the most alarming part was that the parents had no history and they were totally normal. The neither the father nor family or anybody in the family had any history of thyroid. So there is a false perception in obstetricians which we feel, if there is some thyroid history, only then the thyroid disorders happen. But that is absolutely not true because it can happen to any index case as a first time. And I still remember that patient still calling one of my staff and telling her that it's been because we did this today, my baby is absolutely fine and normal. Otherwise, we don't know what would have. The small cases which really help us and make us realize that why screening is so really important. It's for that one baby out of that 900 which you are doing this test, but that one baby takes, if you find that one baby, it just takes care of all the other 899 babies that were normal.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember case like same, because once baby was diagnosed with congenital hypothyroidism, mother, father, everybody in the family, they got their TSS done, and this baby is having hypothyroidism. Then in our next counseling part, we learn that we need to tell that it's not necessary that you have this. This is something goes wrong with some metabolism. That's why this is there. So the first case, it was lost to follow up for our pediatrician because they thought is giving wrong medicine to them. It's not fair to start thyroid medicine at this time. So they lost follow up, and the way we diagnose, we counsel. Now this is their call now. But
No, sporadic.
everybody's test done. That there is nobody is having no
Sporadic Yeah, ma'am, sporadic cases they are common. There is no family history of any thyroid disorders in the family. Parents they are absolutely normal. Still, it is possible that this kid may be because in majority of the cases, what we have seen the cause of this congenital hypothyroidism, it is because of the thyroid disease. The thyroid gland it has not developed, so it can. This is a
program. So we also look like, oh अच्छा okay, इसको बेबी को निकला है, और तो किसी ने इसका निकला है, वापस कंफर्म कराते हैं. तो my
right.
patients might have also sensed that we are also less confident. Fine, that was initial days. Now we are confident. Oh, this is there. You can get confirmation from anywhere and get the treatment start as soon as possible.
Correct.
So it is
Absolutely.
not. So it is not always if parents they kind of sporadic cases and they have been regularly encountering all those kind of hypothyroidism means regularly we are becoming because we, in our setup also we are doing this newborn screening program and we are screening for all those common conditions and many times we do found this and it becomes difficult but after counseling with the parents and means we just let them know okay it is possible and these are the data you can go through that it is possible if you are absolutely normal still the child kid can have this kind of disorder.
Correct. Congenital hypothyroidism means dysgenesis. That means the gland is itself is not growing, and that is the reason why you see even in parentals. And if you see it, one of the next common is this hormonogenesis. So almost this accounts for 100% of the two reasons. And then we have rare, which is hereditary, which is very rare. That is thyroid resistance, and still rarer than that is central hypothyroidism. So what? How? If you want to do CH screening, then what is the right time to do it, and what is the sample that you should be doing?
To do sampling, then after 48 hours, we recommend our patients to go for this routine screening test, and it should be. NNF also says that after 48 hours, but before 7 days, you should go for this screening test. If at all, if we go means earlier, then there are chances that we don't get an exact report, especially cord blood. Against that, can we take that cord blood sample to go for sampling of to diagnose this congenital? But it is not recommended because there are certain things which can hamper some contamination from maternal contamination. We can get the various factors which can means we can get false positive false negative reports like mm, these peripartum factors ma'am, PIH, fetal distress, all those things. So ideally the test for congenital hypothyroidism it should be done after 40 to 48 hours because in first 24 hours there is a possibility that this TS which can be seen normally in any newborn babies. So it is advisable that 48 hours.
Usually we
Correct.
combine with serum bilirubin estimation. Usually our if the patient has to go for that jaundice test or like this, we used to combine with this.
Correct. So
Okay.
the recommendations are that after 24 hours it can be done anytime. Yes, you can delay it, but most importantly, it's not about 48 hours or 72 hours or 7 days. It is that in the first 24 hours it should not be done. Cord blood should not be used, and and the T3 T4 levels peaks to settle down, and which takes a little longer time. That is why you don't do in the first 24 hours. You don't do use cord blood because there is maternal contamination. The metabolism is not started, and the PSA is due to factors. So, which is the test? I'm getting some background noise from somebody. I don't know where this is coming from. If some part. Okay. There is a. What is the test you do for T? You just do TSH or you do T4, or you do TS and T4 both?
Sir, both TSH and T4 both to identify what exactly we are dealing with. Is it simply because of means and especially in the preterm and very sick newborn babies, free T4 it is advisable to go for free T4 because to identify that what exactly we and the T4 levels they are on lower side, but they can be means they can confuse you. So it is better to go for free T4, especially in the
Okay, so yes, so these are specific case scenarios which you are talking about where you are having a high degree of suspicion, but in an otherwise newborn screening program, what is normally just recommended is just TSH and not TSH and T4, because the whole idea of screening program is not to detect every baby, but to detect most of the most common causes of hypothyroidism are thyroid dysgenesis, this hormonogenesis, which account for almost more than 99 or almost 100% of the cases. And that is why TSH alone can just detect these two disorders. What we need to understand is that as clinicians is that when you just do TSH, a very small percentage of cases of central hypothyroidism can be missed out, because in central hypothyroidism your TSH levels will be normal and will congenital hypothyroidism. And that is why if you see most of the guidelines world over, they always say that even when you are doing a screening program, you still have to keep a watch on the child, because there is always a possibility that there is something which is there. So most of the international, if you see any country wherever a newborn screening program is doing, it is only TSH and not T3, T4 or free T3 or free T4, which is specifically reserved for very specific cases, as Dr. Nagar said, wherein you want how the thing is. So I need to just wrap up. For last question which we have is that is it negligence not to screen for congenital hypothyroidism? Yes or no? Dr. Nagar.
Newborn, sir, universal newborn screening, now it is going to be the right of every newborn baby. So in coming days, definitely, still, I will say it, yes.
One word, yes, and I heard that. So, Dr. Makwana, what do you think? Do you think it is negligent not to screen for congenital hypothyroidism in today's times?
If it comes to negligence, then this will be a part of neonatologist, not an
So this is something what we would see between Trump and Jinping right now. So, Dr. Jain, what?
being
we can
negligent,
subsidize,
no.
then after
I think the way I'm trying to say it is, you have counseled them to do it. If they don't do it, that is a different part of it. But you not telling them not to do about it, that part is negligence.
I would like to add.
Yes, Dr. Alok, tell me.
If it is only negligent if NBS is made throughout universal in the country. If it is throughout universal in the country, then if any of the baby comes to be CH positive, or if any baby is coming to be CH, then it is not made compulsorily universal.
Okay. So, Dr. Jain, do you concur with the views?
So I agree with all these views. Actually, if it's not a part of if screening program it's not a part, then it will not be negligence. And second, that availability of filters, paper, and
it's very clear, Dr. Dani. If it is not made universally, it comes through the congenital this hypothyroidism is not negligent.
Okay, so I also agree that it is not negligence that by not doing it, but it's just a matter of time when some consumer court will take this up and said that you should have told me, and if you would have told me, I would have done it. So I think just to be cautious as obstetricians, what we need to do is that we have counseled for newborn screening to be, we need to mention on paper that we have counseled, then the ball is in their court whether they, we need to keep that in mind, that we still need to start writing it, because that one baby which will turn out to be positive will change the whole scenario of negligence, and we are not the people who are going to judge whether negligent or not. And again, when you say universal nationally, I don't think nationally anything is going to happen, because it is going to be a statewide program. So Maharashtra will have it, and Gujarat may not have it, or HP may have it, and Delhi may not have it, like that.
I also want my Himachal Pradesh turmoil of newborn screening. I also want my state to get newborn screening in.
Great, great. So we will surely we'll see that it is there.
We'll see.
And yeah, so I end this webinar for the third part of the webinar today. And I would like to thank the panelists, the participants, Neogen Labs and Trevitron for facilitating us in doing this webinar. And
Saurabh, on the behalf of panelists, we thank you to involving us in this national webinar of this regarding all these newborn screening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you everybody. And this is the, if you have any questions or anything, you can always send a WhatsApp on hnw.in/a/askme, and we will answer them in the subsequent webinars. I've already received a lot of questions, and I'll compile them and hopefully see those answers in the part 4 of the webinar. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Amit, you can disconnect everybody, and I need to just save the